What a difference 24 hours makes. Video from Air Force shows the dramatic changes after police cleared out the Capitol Hill occupied protest zone, also known as the CHOP. The tents, barricades, and honey buckets that surrounded the Seattle Police East Precinct yesterday are gone tonight. Now, while the CHOP zone is cleared out, protesters say they're not done making their demands known.
Right now, dozens of protesters are facing off with a line of police as they secure their newly reclaimed East Precinct. This is a live look just 2 blocks away from the East Precinct. You can see a fairly large crowd there. Protest leaders tell us they're not giving up on their message. One of their top demands continues to be a significant defunding of the police department.
Mayor Durkin does not realize the opportunity that she has. She could show the world what law enforcement should look like. She could show the world that instead of investing in militarization, we should be investing in things like education, community services, social and mental health services.
Since entering the CHOP this morning, police have made 44 arrests for failure to disperse, assault, obstruction, and malicious mischief, among other things. It all started right around 2 o'clock this morning when Mayor Jenny Durkin signed that executive order declaring an unlawful assembly and ordering the removal of the CHOP. By 5 a.m., Seattle police made their move and gave those dispersal orders. And by 9:30, just 4.5 hours later, the perimeter of CHOP was secured. Now, the mayor's order remains in effect tonight, and police are back in control of the East Precinct. Protesters, well, they're also back, and right now they're rallying outside the newly defined barriers along Broadway. Couples Patrick Quinn live there tonight. Patrick, protesters say their fight isn't over.
Fuck you and fuck your mother.
That's right, Preston. They are back, or rather, maybe protesters never left. As you're seeing, there's roughly 100 protesters right here, and just on the other side of this crowd, roughly 50 police officers. And with that dispersal order from the mayor still in effect, we're told officers will make arrests if things intensify. Police have reclaimed the East Precinct.
We're now in the precinct. We've gone through and checked it for any, booby traps or other things that might have been set.
Chief Carmen Best said Mayor Jenny Durkin's executive order will be in effect as long as 10 days. This order defined CHOP as an unlawful assembly, and it paved the way for police and city crews to move into the area early in the morning.
And we are restoring order and getting back to business as usual.
But many in the area are frustrated that it took this long for the city to move back in after 2 black teens were shot and killed in the last 2 weeks.
And that's the worst part of the outcome of this.
Faisal Khan, owner of Argento Cafe just down the road from the precinct, wants his neighborhood cleaned up.
We just deserve some normalcy on 12th Avenue when this is going on. And hopefully today we're getting some of that back.
Mayor Jenny Durkin said she's working with economic development and the city attorney's office to find ways to help the struggling businesses in and near the CHOP zone.
I heard very clearly from them the pain of seeing their businesses closed, the graffiti on the walls, calling back their employees, but not yet able to open.
The 6-block zone around the precinct is closed to everyone but local traffic. Cal Anderson Park closed for now as well. Some in the area aren't convinced that a return of the police is a good thing long term.
Given how it was the last time the cops were here, them shooting tear gas and rubber bullets, I'm a little bit skeptical as to whether it's actually going to be safer with the cops here or not.
And I do want to apologize if you heard some bad language in our live intro. Now, the mayor said she is committed to what brought all these protesters out in the first place after George Floyd's death. She said she will invest in black communities. She wants to invest in youth. She also is reimagining how the police department is built. And
camera if there's a riot.
And she also said she wants to improve accountability. Guys, back to you.
All right, Patrick, thank you. During today's sweep of the CHOP, police found several weapons. Officers say one man had a large metal pipe and a kitchen knife on him when he was arrested. Police also found a hatchet along with 2 homemade spike strips inside the Capitol Hill CHOP zone.
Here's a look back at how we got to this point. The CHOP was born out of protests that started on May 29th, 4 days after George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis. On June 8th, Seattle police evacuating the East Precinct, boarding it up, marking the start of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone known as CHAZ. Days later, it was rebranded as CHOP. CHOP. Yesterday, a series of shootings that killed 2 teenagers, city crews removing some of the concrete barricades. Then around 5 o'clock this morning, police moving in to clear CHOP after the mayor issued that executive order. 2 Seattle council members publicly denouncing the order to remove the CHOP. Tammy Morales tweeting this, saying, "I strongly condemn the actions taken by the mayor this morning. Peaceful protesters exercising their First Amendment right to protest police brutality have once again been met with police and riot gear." Meantime, Kashama Sawant tweeted this, saying, "Shame on Mayor Durkin, who chose today for Seattle police to attack the CHOP when she knew city council would be in long committee on the Amazon tax."
Mayor Durkin is firing back at sharp criticism from the Trump administration. So far, President Trump has not directly addressed the sweep at the CHOP, but the White House press secretary spent several minutes talking about Seattle today.
President Trump has always stood on the side of law and order, and we are pleased to report that law and order has prevailed and Seattle has been liberated from the anarchist.
I think I've made it clear from the outset that I don't think that the president or his administration's comments have been helpful. In fact, there's no question that they have made the situation more volatile. I would urge the Attorney General to restore lawfulness to Pennsylvania Avenue.
Attorney General William Barr praised Police Chief Carmen Best in a statement today, saying he commended her courage and leadership in restoring the rule of law in Seattle. In just a few hours, Police Chief Carmen Best will be here in Como Studios to talk about the dismantling of the CHOP, what's next for the East Precinct, and the future of policing in Seattle. Tune into Como Morning News for discussion beginning at 5 a.m.
Developing now, a state senator announcing new legislation aimed at preventing another CHOP from forming in the future. Republican Senator Steve Oban says his bill would withhold state funding from cities that allowed so-called autonomous zones. Cities could also face fines up to $10,000 a day, and they could be held liable for loss of life and property destruction. We'll continue to monitor developments around Capitol Hill and the next steps for protesters during this newscast and, of course, throughout the night. We'll also have complete coverage and extended video of today's sweep at the CHOP online right now at comonews.com.
Right now, Seattle police are back in the East Precinct, but protesters are too. They're back on Capitol Hill, including one woman who was arrested earlier today. Como's Patrick Quinn is live now with an update for us. Patrick?
Hey, Mary, yeah, we're just outside Broadway where protesters back out here tonight. Again, maybe they never left, and I'm standing next to 2 protesters. And Rashyla, Angelica, the last time we saw you two, you actually were being arrested early this morning. You guys have had a very, very long day, and yet you're back out here. Why?
Well, I mean, we got out not even an hour and a half ago or so, and we got out here and the crowd had already gathered, you know. So this is, like we keep saying, this is the people's movement, and we're gonna keep being a part of the people and pushing this movement forward. You know, we're out here to incite change and tear down a system that is oppressing its people, and we're gonna continue to do that. And that, you know, the people have gathered here because that's what they want, and we're gonna support them in that. So
has CHOP dissolved, or will this transform? And
CHOP isn't a place. CHOP isn't ideal. Exactly. You know, they might have pushed us out of that space, but they didn't push us out of our mindset. And you know, as you can see, like, we're back with a fire and we're ready to go. Okay. And we're not afraid of them. Yeah, and we're not gonna let them push us or bully us. They're just
That's why we ran here as soon as we got out.
As soon as we got out, we came here because we was ready.
We were ready for the smoke. We were ready for the smoke as soon as we got in.
We came out tired. We were like, let's go.
Let's go. Oh God.
So. Mary, as you can hear, they just got out of prison a couple hours ago, out of jail, no longer arrested, back out here. It looks like this fight will continue. Of course, we'll be monitoring it from the ground. Guys, back to you.
Thank you.
Southbound, or you will be arrested.
When officers cleared out the CHOP, one news photographer was embedded with the police department to capture it all. And you can see protesters did not back down. In fact, police had to carry away one protester with a bloodied face. 44 arrests have been made, although Mayor Jenny Durkin said today she does not believe charges should be filed for misdemeanors. People living nearby say they're happy to have their neighborhood back.
Because this whole thing was supposed to be about anti-violence on people. So when it obviously became violence on each other, it was obvious to me that it needed to be done right away.
The sweep ended with officers entering the East Precinct. Video shows smiles on officers' faces and Chief Carmen Best hugging and thanking her officers for their work.